In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use a simple pipette bulb. So to use these, you squeeze them, and then as you release them, they draw liquid up into the pipette. There are two types here. These are for different volumes, but they each have a gently tapered nozzle, and that is where the pipette seats into. And you don't want this to be so tight that it's hard to get the pipette out of the bulb when you're done aspirating, but you also don't want it to be so loose that you don't have a seal. So you want to make sure that it's tight enough to have a seal when you insert this in. So I'm going to be using a colored solution in order to make this easier to see. And if you look closely, this one in particular is a 3 ml volumetric pipette. And you can see, if you look closely, an etched line, and that is where this pipette is calibrated so that if the bottom of the meniscus is at this etched line, this is holding 3 mLs. Volumetric pipettes also are allowed to drain by gravity and are not blown out. So to hold a pipette, you're going to hold it gently between your fingers while leaving it so that your index finger can quickly get over the top. So you want to be high enough on the pipette that you can get your index finger comfortably over the top of the pipette. You don't want to grip it in your palm grip and use your thumb, because this is actually not very secure, because these pipettes are very narrow and it can slide through your hand, or if you are gripping it tightly enough to hold it secure, you run the risk of breaking it. So you want to hold it delicately between your fingers, and then with your non-dominant hand, you will squeeze the bulb. Squeeze and release the bulb. So the first thing you do is you situate the pipette. I like to squeeze first. Squeeze first, situate it onto the nozzle onto the top of the pipette so you have a nice seal. Enter the liquid, and then gently release the bulb so that the liquid draws up into the pipette, and you want to overshoot that line so that you have time to quickly get your finger over the pipette before your liquid drops below your etched line. So then I'm going to gently release my finger just enough that the liquid starts to drop. And I have this at my eye level. And when the bottom of the meniscus hits that etched line, I will reapply the pressure of my finger. And then to decant the liquid from the pipette, you're going to place it at an angle and release your finger, touching the tip of the pipette against the vessel wall, and allow it to drain by gravity. Since this is a volumetric pipette, it does not need to be blown out at the end. So this last little drop is allowed to remain in the pipette, and that is considered having dispensed 3 mLs. And then when we're done, we place our used pipettes in a metal bin to be washed later. These do not get discarded. So I'm going to make a 1:2 dilution. So for the next part, I'm going to use an equal volume of distilled water. And for this one, I'm going to show you how to use a serological pipette. So this is a 5 ml serological pipette. And the numbering on serological pipettes is interesting because there is a 0 line. And that, when it is filled to the 0 line, that indicates that the pipette is holding the full volume indicated on that pipette. So this is a 5 ml pipette. So when it's at the 0 line, it is holding 5 mLs of volume. And as you dispense, when you get to that big 1, that means you have dispensed 1 ml. When you get to the 2, you have dispensed 2 mLs. 3, you've dispensed 3 mLs. And 4, you've dispensed 4 mLs. And then you would dispense all the way to the bottom, and then you would blow out at the end. Some pipettes, serological pipettes, do have these tiny numbers on the side. Not all of them do. And that indicates how much you've actually filled it to at the time, at that line. So this indicates that we're at 5 mLs. And as we go down, you would be at 4 mLs. It would be filled to 3 mLs, and so on. So that can be a little confusing for people, the numbering on these. So in order to do this, we're still going to use the bulb. So we're going to hold it once again in between our fingers with our dominant hand with enough close enough to the top that we can quickly get that index finger over the top. And then we're going to squeeze the bulb, seat it, enter the liquid vertically, and allow it to fill. So I want to dispense 3 mLs in order to make a 1 to 2 solution. So if I go, so that's 5, 4, 3. So I actually want to be at the big 2 in order to fill it up to 3. So I'm going to gently release the pressure until the bottom of my meniscus is at the 2, the big 2. So then I'll take it out of the vessel, put it at an angle, and allow it to drain by gravity. These serological pipettes are often used with an electronic gun, which uses forced air to release the volume. So these are typically designed to be blown out. So in order to blow out, I'll put the unsqueezed bulb on the top of the pipette and then squeeze it, and that blows out that last drop. And then I will place this in the metal bin to be washed. Sometimes these are disposable, sometimes they're not. You just want to make sure that you're not accidentally throwing away one that should be reused.